the vagueness of pricing, trying to figure out where you fit in the market. And often when you're dealing with your customers, they're not quite sure either. Maybe they have a number in their head.
Correct,
Yeah. And
I'm thinking of a number.
It's literally
and
what
I'm
it comes
thinking
down
of one
to
that's higher.
Yeah. No, it is that awkward thing in the email, and it's like buying a car or anything. You never want to say the first number.
Navigate your leadership journey at the FMA Annual Meeting, February 27th to the 29th in Clearwater, Florida. At this premier event, you'll connect with top leaders in the fabrication industry to share ideas, collaborate to solve business challenges, and build strategic relationships. Chart your course for success in 2024 and beyond at the FMA Annual Meeting. Find all the details at fmamfg.org.
Hello, this is Dan Davis with Fabricator Magazine and my co-host, Lincoln Bruner. Hello, Lincoln.
How you doing?
Doing well.
We're not talking about that, Lincoln.
We're here for a conversation with, you might be familiar with them, the DeVito brothers, Rob and Anthony of iRcustom.
Yes.
They're back because they delivered a nice table
Beautiful
for our
table.
podcasting space here.
Maple top. Well, they'll explain it in the podcast.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Very nice work. Wouldn't expect anything other.
But it kind of went against like what they're usually used to, is making these big, elaborate office desks. And when I asked them for a 3x3 foot coffee table, they're like, "Oh, that's not really our realm," but they made it work.
Yes.
They did.
We challenged them and they came through. So you'll enjoy that conversation.
They delivered it in a Chevy Bolt.
Right.
Yeah.
That's right.
And I guess part of their, he said, what did I hear? 90% of their deliveries they'll do in person.
Yeah.
So after this episode, no doubt you'll want them to come visit.
Right.
It's part of their shtick.
I don't
And
think
they
it's a
stick
shtick.
around for like 40 minutes and just talk to you then.
Yeah, if you have a
That's right.
podcast, they're great guests.
Yeah.
They
They
now
are.
have achieved the record for being on the podcast the most times.
That's
Yes.
With 2.
Yep.
So we want to congratulate them on that honor.
Yeah.
That's right.
Right down the street in Lake Zurich.
Beautiful Lake Zurich. Yeah. Home of Phase 3 Brewing.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. That's
very
true.
good.
Home of Heights
Haven't been there.
Auto, which we've also featured in the Fabricator.
Yes, you did that story.
Yes.
They do automotive aftermarket.
Yes. Yes.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
Lake Zurich's just a hotbed of excitement.
Yes. We were wondering what we could chat about, and Gareth, as he was perusing the internet during the day as he does at work, came across.
That's what you pay me for, Dan.
Came across, what's this young man's name from Germany?
His name's Dirk, and he goes by the Metalist.
Medalist. And he makes
Medalist.
he
And
makes
he's got a-
metal fists.
Yeah, he's created like a line of hammers shaped like fists and axes shaped like just, I guess, an open hand.
Right.
But it's just kind of cool looking.
Yeah.
You can use it to smash
A number of things.
cupcakes.
I would think the turnaround,
Apples.
unless he has a lot in stock, might make a great Christmas gift.
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he was actually he was destroying children's toys to demonstrate the
and fruit.
robust design of the hammer.
It's really sad.
But
the
he
way-
was also using it to hit nails.
Yeah.
So it's both functional and
Just entertaining.
Stylish.
therapeutic.
therapeutic.
Yes.
That's right. If you ever had a love-hate relationship with a toy Mercedes, he's got your answer.
I'm not sure what the shipping is on something like this.
Looks like an extra large fist.
Pretty effective, though.
If you think about
Yeah.
the charge by ounce, I think you're looking
Yes.
at a pretty hefty,
And, it's got a nice finish on it.
It
I don't know
does.
if I'd want to go mucking it up, hitting it on things.
like a cupcake or a piece of fruit
Yeah.
there.
I don't know why he's abusing a cupcake and an apple. But nonetheless, salute to you, Dirk.
Yeah.
Yes.
Very cool hammer.
Very nice.
Yes.
The DeVito brothers would have a heyday with that one.
I
Yeah.
think it comes in like bronze and nickel, different finishes, but
Maybe we should start having giveaways for guests.
I think we should have Dirk here.
Should we fly him in from Germany?
We have a giant budget for out of country guests.
We blew it all on the table from iRcustoms.
If you're making hammers that look like fists, I think you deserve a plane ticket.
Yeah.
There you go. All right. So enjoy this episode with the DeVito brothers, Anthony and Rob. How are they doing?
We'll find out.
We'll find out.
We will find out. Thank you and goodbye.
Nuts, Bolts, and Thingamajigs, the charitable foundation of the Fabricators and Manufacturers Association, is on a mission to shape the future of manufacturing by helping people explore careers in this exciting field. With your help, NBT provides scholarships, grants, and other resources to support the next generation of makers and build a strong, innovative manufacturing industry for years to come. Learn more about NBT and how you can get involved today at FMAMFG.org. And now, back to the episode.
We're back with the DeVito brothers, Rob and Anthony. Thanks for joining us again today. You're here because you delivered something to us.
Absolutely. Brought a little present.
Yes, and it's a very nice present.
Look at this beautiful piece.
Yeah, so this is what y'all do, if people
Indeed.
don't remember.
It is a portion of what we do. Yeah, custom desk tables and, of course, coffee tables as well. You know, you guys reached out to us, and we figured it would be a great fit while you guys were doing all the recoloring and everything. So, you know, it worked out well. This one is a little bit different from our typical, you know, large desk, large tube, but we like to include a little bit of pop in all of our stuff, you know?
Yeah.
Why don't you tell us a little bit about it?
Yeah, we got a all solid maple top, basically 1x1 steel, all powder coated with some panels to fit in for customizing if you want, custom colors, etc. Also some custom bent bracketry and panels that make it all fit nice, seamlessly, and simple.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
All welded?
All welded, except for those side panels that, you know, we leave them so you guys can swap them out, do
Want
whatever.
to color change them?
Yeah. Wait for the next rebrand.
Yeah, there you go.
That's right. That'll be next week.
Yeah, why
You
not?
know, it sounds crazy anymore, but a lot of times you get something that fits in your space for a year or two, and then it's like, ooh, well, now I want to go a different color. Well, with the stuff we build, we expect it to be around a long time, so
Yeah.
the color change thing's simple, whereas you don't just throw it out and go buy another coffee table.
The swatch of custom furniture.
Exactly.
Do you have customers come to you with that in mind? Like flexibility and...
We do have the so the panels is actually what we take from our desk where we do a front panel. So, you know, you can put whatever logo you want on it. If they change their logo, want to write something on it, etc.
Right.
You will usually do that for front panels of desks, things like that. But, you know, it's not very often that they're changing stuff or swapping it out. But actually, one of our more recent tables, it was a blue, really cantilevered custom conference table, and the client loved it. And a year later, he reached out. He's like, "So, how do I recolor this?" And I'm like, "Well, it's powder coated, so I mean,
You can do whatever you want.
whatever you want. Like, that's not coming off."
A tiny roller.
Yeah, we're like, he's like, "Can I get it repainted?" I'm like, "You can, you know, that's kind of up to you. Like, the powder coat, you can burn it off." I'm like, "That's a lot of money."
Right, yeah.
It was like, I told him, "You're better off keeping it that color," but, you know, I understand people change their minds. Things change, you know. It
Kind of one of
happens.
those weird things we've run into. Do people come and request it all the time? No, but you see a pattern enough times where it's like, all right, even if they don't think at this time they need
Yeah.
it, let's prepare for it so we don't have to figure out
There
a
you
way in
go.
the future.
Exactly.
So what are the panels made of?
These are 1/8
Those are 1/8 steel plate.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
and then it's all just bolted in there.
Yeah, if you guys
so
feel
can
like
give
you
it a
need to
boost.
dance on it or
I keep
whatever
that 'cause I
you-
thought it was Pexagon.
Yeah. No, yeah.
So
well,
the panels are powder coated as well.
We're about
They
metal
are,
fabrication,
okay.
Daniel. We're not about
Yeah,
plexiglass.
no,
the
we
way
don't-
he made it sound like they switched out, I thought it was like a little piece of like, let's try the purple today.
You know what's
I really
funny?
had like that swatch approach in mind. Like,
well,
ooh.
if you want some plastic panels, we can get
Yeah,
them for you.
we can take care of that, but it is funny you bring that up.
Pick it up, and
Yeah.
haul it out.
The first question when we brought it in, how heavy is it, right? We've determined we are skewed on everything. Like, not very. I don't know, 100 pounds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, well, for a coffee table, that's kind of heavy, you moron.
Literally the dudes I don't want the phone call from to help you move.
Oh no, yeah,
Don't
no.
worry.
People ask us to
With the
move.
legs,
We're
with the
good
legs.
at moving, but you don't want to help us move. You don't want to help us.
When they rolled up, I was expecting a truck, but they were in a small Chevy Volt.
Yep. I got an all electric car, my little Chevy Bolt. This thing slides right into the back. Why bring a big truck when I don't got it, right?
So here's the question. Did you measure before you tried to get it in there?
Yes.
Okay.
Because I've made that mistake plenty of times.
Let's say.
It's not gonna fit.
You don't want to know how many. I think that's our biggest thing with anything, especially with clients. Where is it going? No.
you get there?
Walk into your building and please grab your cell phone and walk in, because there's huge double doors to the conference room. They forget the 16 hallways that must lead there.
Yeah.
Something like this, not a big deal.
Right.
And most people do have more spatial relationship issues than they give themselves credit for.
Oh, absolutely. You walk through 4 doors and you forget about that one, but you see the massive opening that you're in. You're like, yeah, you can slide right in.
And when you walk into spaces and they're like, this room's huge, it's like, you have no idea how big an 18-foot conference table is.
Yeah.
Trust me.
So have you run into issues delivering something like that?
We have, and it was actually more on the multiple piece things, because when it's one piece or whatever, you make sure, you're like, okay, this room fits this. We always roughly say 4 foot all around, just
Dead
make
minimum.
sure, because then you can walk behind a chair, etc. We delivered, I think it was 3 conference tables. 2 of the rooms, they fit perfectly. The third room,
So bad.
you barely could get in the room around the table.
They're like, oh, that's the biggest room. It'll be no problem. We set it up and we're like, so it's going to have to go to that wall.
Yeah. And it became a 3-sided conference table. And I was like, sorry, guys. Like, if you want us to fix it, let us know. But this was a client that also upsized their original. They were originally smaller. And they're like, no, let's make them all bigger. So we made all of them bigger. And, and the room did not grow on one of them.
You want to know the best part about this story as my brain is working? You're talking about the job in Texas, and I'm talking about the job in Pittsburgh.
Oh, yeah. It's happened a couple times.
So do you ask for confirmation now before you engage with
but does it matter?
You can
told yes no
confirm
matter
8
what.
times, and at the end of the day, you have to go with the information you're given.
Right.
And we do our best to gather everything. And I mean that we specialize 3D renderings. I'll put it in the room if you give me the specs of the room.
Right.
Especially conference tables, they usually have power in the center of the space, so you have to account for where you're going to have your power drops, where your legs are going to land. So we usually do our due diligence, and then you just run into the times that you just miss them.
And then some people that apparently just can't read tape measures. We had one client, we put the table in the middle of the room, and their designer comes in and starts blowing a gasket at us that it's not in the middle of the room, and this and that. We're like, I'm not going to argue with you, man. It's in the middle of the room. That light you got, though, it's not in the middle of the room.
Their electrician hung their light about 2 feet to the left. So the table was down the center and the light was all the way over here.
So was this
OCD people, that would be a
decor
problem.
where you take that chain and you just move it?
Yeah, literally just drag it over.
I did that at my old house for the dining table. I was like, this is the most hood thing ever, but it works.
Yeah, so there are workarounds. I was thinking about your table against the wall. You just paint a mural of the CEO on one wall, and he's always at the
just
top.
put a big TV there. Yeah.
See, that's a good max headroom type thing with the TV down there. So if y'all need anything, like brainstorm and just let me know. I'm a problem solver by nature.
There you go.
You're saying painted picture of the CEO, and
I think so. Yeah.
Well, in my head, I'm going, you know what? We should just put a TV in case you change your CEO. You don't have to have it
That's
repainted.
true.
You just
See?
swap them out.
Now you're that much farther ahead of me on the road.
Technology.
There you go.
But speaking of power drops, we want to hear the story.
The good.
So we were
fun
talking
story.
about the shop earlier.
Yeah.
And how big a shop do y'all have?
It's 4,000 square feet. I mean, it's small, but it's just the two of us. So we have things set up kind of awkward for most fabrication and manufacturing, because if we need to do something special, we'll just set it up and jig it the way we need it to work.
Right.
But if you need to save money on your shop costs, just have your neighbor pay the electricity bill.
Inadvertently. For 2 years.
Yeah, that was one of those ones where, we were running our machines during the day, and of course, it wouldn't happen on a day where you don't need the machine.
Right.
So we're running this tight deadline. We're trying to get stuff done, and the plasma cutter just turns off. And I look at him because I don't mess with electricity. That ain't my thing. I look at him and I'm like, hey, go figure out. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I'm like, you go figure this out. So he's in the box.
You don't matter as much.
I don't know. It's a weird thing. Like
the brain thing.
He has a lot of skill sets that can do everything. He's like, I'm not screwing with the electricity. I'm like,
it just doesn't click in my head. I don't get it.
Here you go.
Look,
just don't
dude,
touch
hurts.
these together.
I know if I do something wrong, it's big trouble, you know?
Exactly.
And for some reason,
A man's
it
got
just
to know
doesn't
his
click.
limitations.
I
And
mean,
I've become aware of them the older I get, you know?
we are running 480 in the shop. So, like, if you don't have a good understanding of what you're doing, you shouldn't be screwing with it. Like, you really shouldn't.
Yeah.
Your brother knows this.
Exactly. Who knows it better, right?
And probably prefer for me to die and I'm insured for more. So, hey,
But
is
yeah,
what it is.
so I sent him over to the box. He comes back and looks at me like, you're doing something wrong. And I'm like, no, my machine has no power. Nothing over here has power. So after a little bit of further investigation, following some conduit, we see that our conduit is going over our wall and into our neighbor's unit.
Who apparently didn't pay their bill and had their electricity shut off.
Perfect.
So, you know, the sub panel that we'd been using for 2.5 years apparently wasn't hooked up to our electricity.
So a somewhat awkward conversation ensued. With
No.
someone? No.
No, it's very simple.
The
yeah.
conversation was, sounds like a you problem.
That's for the landlord.
Yeah,
Correct, to the
correct,
landlord.
Yeah.
Because they can come argue with us, and I'd be like, well, I don't know what the exact usage is. It wouldn't have gone anywhere. So
Right.
at the end of the day, I have no idea what the landlord had to kind of square up or
And
settle
this
up.
was never spoken about with your neighbor.
We kind of have
Sweet neighbor.
a don't ask, don't tell with our neighbor, you know, where
We
if
both
something's
do dumb
important
things.
enough,
Right.
you'll talk, but we kind of give each other space, you know, so
Apparently
it works
a
well.
lot.
I think that works well.
What was their business? Like, did they think it was weird that they had energy of a plasma cutter running through their...
You would think so,
You
because
would
they're
assume so.
masons, so you wouldn't expect high
Yeah, they don't-
electricity necessarily.
They don't
pulling
do
from
a
there.
lot of in-shop work. So, like, everyone would have... I mean... Our electricity bill, when it spikes, I'm like, okay, what were we doing? Like, when we brought powder coating in-house, I went, oh,
That's
stupid
the
oven.
oven.
They
yeah.
actually reenact weird science after y'all shut down business late into the night. Building a table like this, how many projects can you do at the same time in your shop?
You know, it all depends. With this one, I think we had about 2 other desks going at the same time, and I think another table. But I mean, it's basically the same process, no matter the size for us.
the
you know,
biggest
you
thing
guys
is workload and size.
Correct. And you know, you guys reach out, say this is what I'm looking at roughly. What can you come up with? We send back renderings. We go through the whole process. So it's really not that different from anything else that we do. It's very similar. It's just a slightly smaller scale.
Yeah.
You
As
know?
far as how many can we do at, like, a time?
Yeah. Or how many have you done it? What's the most you've had going on at one time?
See, this is where, like, we work a lot more on, like, a project basis almost, right? So, like, this client gets all of their pieces kind of on a timeline, whereas a lot of the single desks and things, we'll either work them in with a project. Since it's the 2 of us, our workflow kind of goes by material more than, like, a process per se. Like, all right, we're going to knock out all the welding this week, and then it's going to move over to powder coating. And while that's curing, we can get started on woodworking. So we kind of, like, have a weird working stages type thing.
Will you keep material in house, or do you kind of order it?
It's actually a new thing for us. We've always been vertically integrated. And I think the last time we were here, we were talking about how we enjoy the vertical integration. And, you know, we looked over things, and we still have material in-house from ordering and everything. And we like to keep it just in case something happens. But we've recently just started looking at outsourcing a lot of our cutting and specialty work to actually someone you had on, Precision Tube and Laser, Jordan.
Yeah.
And they've been so great to work with. Whereas, because I'm sending out digital files where I'm doing certain cuts, crazy things, and I've always had to figure out how to do that on our equipment.
Right.
Which, you know, we're well equipped. I'm not going to say we're not. We have all the bandsaws, we have plasma cutters, we have CNCs, we have it all. But
Comes
when
to
it
a
comes,
time component.
correct.
Yeah.
You
Sure.
know,
You only have so much.
Exactly. You only have so much time, and they're great to work with. I send them files. I say, this is what I need. You know,
And them being in Vegas is not a problem logistically.
the only thing is the shipping.
Sure.
But, you know, when you factor in your time and we factor in all the costs, you look at it and it's comparable.
Yeah.
You know, and you're like, okay, well,
And we'll try to batch things the best we can.
Sure.
Exactly,
Right?
yeah.
I don't want them like shipping us stuff on a Monday and then again on a Thursday. It's like,
Yeah.
you know, okay, this group of projects, if we have that usage, is going to go. Even something as simple as your coffee table. Like, it looks very basic, but if you don't get the engineering and things ahead of time to get these angles and things correct, like you flip this over, the bottom runners are all custom cut and bent to certain angles, which match the top, which is counter bent to make everything match together. Well, we can do that with the equipment we have. It's going to take us a little while because
the accuracy too. You know,
I mean,
like, it's crazy.
I would love to have their setup in our shop. That's not our niche. You know, they do a lot of manufacturing. That's never what we wanted to go into. This is what we do.
Yeah.
So for them to custom bend angles and get the holes exactly laser precision, it's a win for everyone because that's what they need to do.
That's what they
we
do really
need.
well.
Yeah.
Does that kind of take some of the mind-numbing drudgery
Well,
out
that's
of
the
it?
thing, you know. I mean, I would be back there cutting. I'd have to make the cut files prior, so I'd write down my numbers, and I know my numbers, and I go back there, and it takes away from the time that I should be doing other things.
Right.
You know,
That's
and they're like, I would consider ourselves pretty accurate when it comes to it, but I ain't gonna compare with the CNC tube laser cutter.
Right.
You know, like.
Right.
It's got custom. You can do digital joinery on steels. Like you can do multiple cuts. Like even on this, we've always said, it's hard to make things look simple. You know, because if you show off all the hardware, you show off all the connections. Yeah, that's easy assembly. Try hiding everything.
Right.
You know, and that's always the hard part. So it was always like, how do you make it look simple? And if you can get into crazy joints, crazy bends, and things like that, it makes it a whole lot easier.
Yeah.
Especially if I just say, hey, I'd like to do this. Can you guys do this?
Yeah.
And they're like, yeah. And I'm like, awesome. You
I
know?
don't think it's the mind-numbing work. To be honest with you, it's labor hours.
Yeah.
That's true. Yeah.
And we've been doing our best. I mean, everyone's trying to do it anymore. Like, how do we keep costs in line best possible and still be able to make a living, right? So you're like, all right, maybe it costs a few dollars to send it to them. It's going to take us 30 hours back there. And
Right. You have to factor in how much is my time really worth.
100%. Yeah.
And if you don't
time's
do,
the hardest factor.
Yeah.
Running away.
Have you approached it that way since working, starting the business, with that concept of knowing what exactly is going into it, time-wise?
I think initially, no. I think initially we just brute forced it kind of, and, you know, just put in the time and spent the hours and just stayed there until you had to get it done.
You're a startup.
Yeah, exactly. And then
And
you
we
start
still
to
do
look.
that to
Yeah,
it.
we still do it plenty. But you start to look at each other and be like, okay, we can't sustain this. You know, so you have to find a way to do it. And in outsourcing to local companies and things like that, you know, it just never clicked in our head that like, you know, why
There wasn't
not?
really a
You know?
company of their abilities that would do what we wanted to do.
Right.
Yeah.
If we approached anyone previous to working with them, like, hey, this is what we want to do. Well, we got a $10,000 minimum.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
We got a 3,000 part minimum.
Right. And they're at no minimum shop.
Yeah.
Right.
It's crazy.
And if you can make it work, it's great. So yeah, in the beginning when we first looked at it, it wasn't even a feasible option. Like
Right.
it didn't exist.
Yeah.
Right.
So now these things do exist, and it's like, all right, especially since Rob's doing we have the 3D models, we have the drawings, everything's set up. The machines can do it. We can't afford to buy the machines because,
There is that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's funny because you say that and like, an expensive saw for us back in the day. If we spent like $8,000 on a bandsaw when we first started, it was like, ouch, that hurts.
Yeah.
And even, I mean, you guys were at the big fabrication show. We're like, check out that laser. And we walk by like, 1.8.
Yeah.
All right.
What's
That's a
funny-
big no.
So I mean, there's not too much of a difference between like your shop and then even people like, you know, John Deere. I mean, they'd rather have their supply chains carry the burden of investing in technology, and as long as they're delivering quality parts and delivering it on time.
There's
Absolutely.
the kicker.
Yeah.
You need a quality supply chain that you can rely on.
Right. Right.
Like our materials guys, like everyone that was like, I can't get materials, I can't get this and that. Maybe at worst point we were with 3 days.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Really?
Yeah.
So like we just made sure we had suppliers and even a backup supplier in case, because people have the best intentions, but things happen.
Right.
But that equates to a way better turnaround time if you can take care of your sourcing.
Absolutely.
Man.
This
I
kinda,
mean, when we started, we like had to tell people like on big projects, like, it might be like 16 weeks. And we're sitting there like, they're going to be like, no, like we're out of here.
Yeah, I mean, I feel bad telling people 8 now.
Right.
You know, and 8 is just our buffer, kind of.
Yeah.
Because we're always trying to shave it down. But yeah, like you said, we used to tell people, like, it's going to be like 16 weeks. Is that okay? And they're like, I guess.
Sure,
you
right.
know? Like, sure.
Right. So we were talking a little earlier. I mean, remind us to another conversation just in terms of the vagueness of pricing, trying to figure out where you fit in the market. Yeah. And often when you're dealing with your customers, they're not quite sure either. Maybe they have a number in their head.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah. And
I'm thinking of a number.
well, yeah.
It's
it all goes
between-
back.
It's literally
And
what
I'm
it comes
thinking of
down
one
to
that's
sometimes.
higher.
Yeah. No, you know, it is that awkward thing in the email, and it's kind of like, it's like buying a car or anything.
Mm-hmm.
You never want to say the first number. You know, nobody wants to say it. So it's always like, oh, well, you know, this and this. And then I always have to put in like, did you have an ideal budget in mind?
There you go.
Because we're not a cheap product. We're well aware of it. And it's one of those things
You're
where
custom.
I would rather be upfront with the client because we have a lot of, it was a little bit earlier on. Now we don't get it as much, but we still get it sometimes. People reaching out and they're like, oh, I thought it was like $700. And we're like, we can't supply our metals for $700, let alone make the piece, finish it, and send it to you. But I understand there is that market, you know, so you don't want to be rude to people or mean to people. So it's like, did you have an ideal budget in mind? And they come back. And some people come back with the other end of the spectrum where you're like, you got that kind of budget? What else you need? You know?
I feel bad telling you it costs that much.
And
exactly.
I'm not going to not take it.
Are you in the market for playground equipment?
Yeah, it's like, what else? You need more stuff for that office?
Yeah.
How about outside? You need exterior stuff? Yeah, that's when you're like,
And can I come
okay.
over for dinner?
Exactly. You start looking around, and then you look at each other, and you're like, we're in the wrong business.
Yeah.
I think we have that discussion
Quite often.
regularly.
Well, we had Matt Tyler on a previous episode when we were recording at FabTech, and he said the hardest thing he's had to learn was how to price jobs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In the custom
I
world,
remember that conversation.
honestly, in the custom world, it's even hard for us sometimes. Because since you never make the same thing, like a lot of our desks, we can figure out now, like, all right, at this size with this material, it's going to take us X amount of time. But some of the more complicated things, and especially in the beginning, you're like, I don't know, I think we can get it done in a week or so. And all of a sudden you're back there 2.5 weeks later, like, oh, we underpriced this.
Yeah. Your time is another thing that you learn to price for. You know, when we first started doing it, it's like, our pricing seems crazy. The more we look into our pricing, we're like, our pricing's pretty fair. You know, when you start thinking about your
not
time.
exorbitant,
Yeah.
I mean, we try to be as fair as we can. Like, I've made the comment before, like, if you're a business owner, don't look at what you make hourly, ever. No. You're an underpaid third world slave labor type wage.
Well, the
It's
market
terrible.
will let you know if you're pricing it unfairly.
Absolutely. We actually have a used truck that we have in the back of the shop that we're trying to sell, and we have it priced at our price, and we keep getting, we've had what, like 5-6 people hit us at this same price, and he keeps going, I'm not selling it for that. I go, well, apparently that's what the market's saying it's worth. So you know,
I know the guys that are buying it from me are going to resell it. That's my problem.
Can you afford to think about that?
Exactly. Well, that's the thing. We look at each other
Here's
and
the
we're
bad
like,
part.
you keep it for a month, you're paying insurance, you got everything else on top of it. It's like, just sell it.
Yeah, but we can't afford to just let it sit there at that price for a while. There's a threshold, obviously. Like, get that piece of crap out of here now.
Lincoln, are you looking for a truck?
I was about to say, you want to give it a plug? What are we talking about here?
Oh, it ain't that good.
If anyone wants a GMC Yukon Denali, what's
there
that,
you go.
07?
07 Denali.
How many miles?
180,000.
Still runs like a champ.
It was
a good runner.
It was Rob's daily driver until he started driving too many miles and then went fully electric.
Yeah, I love my electric go-kart. I think
It's electric.
Oh yeah.
All right.
I always laugh because literally it's just gone. Like that thing takes off. I'm so used to driving big slow vehicles.
Did you this is a tangent. Did you like look at other models? Did you
We went through the whole Tesla scape and everything, and the
By
pricing.
the way, I got to go buy a Tesla on Thursday.
Now he's driven my electric car. Now he
serious?
just needs one.
Not
you know?
mine, my wife.
But so the Chevy
Let's be
Bolt.
real here.
The
Once
Chevy
you're married,
Bolt
you get
had
no
a
rights.
Yeah, your
Chevy
choices
Bolt
are not
had a
yours.
weird battery replacement thing. So they're priced super low in the used car market, but they
okay.
have brand new batteries in them. And I was like, do I really want to drive this shoebox? No. I'm like,
Yeah.
I'd rather be driving a nice Tesla and call it cool. And I'm like, I can't afford a nice Tesla. Let's go to the shoebox.
Right,
you know?
right.
But I love the little thing. Like, it's hilarious.
Have
But
you
yeah,
ever
we looked
been
around.
in a Chevy Bolt?
No.
We should go put you in the front seat. I have never been in an economy box. Like, it's an econo box. Like let's see it for what it is.
I had a Honda CRX.
Yeah, your
Very
Honda
similar.
I'm
very
very
similar.
Your
Yeah.
Honda CRX though, in stock mode, did not spin the tires.
Yeah, I can break
Correct.
tires
and
loose
run
in this
sub
thing.
60 to
Correct.
60s.
Yeah.
It did not do
I don't need that power, but I love having it.
There you go.
What can it do with a coffee table in the back, though?
It slid right in, and I had to make sure I didn't hit the gas too hard.
Yeah, so it will slide and probably
like a
destroy
Final
the back glass.
Destination thing.
Yeah. Oh, you joke about that. When we used to load stuff into the back, I was like, watch your back, watch our back, because we weren't the best loaders. It was just make sure it didn't come and hit you in
Right.
the back of the head. And
The truck? Yeah, that was bad.
our big blue truck one time, it had a big metal security gate in it. It was a big step van. We drive
Yeah.
it. We
I
picked
wanted
up
to
a
take it
welding
out because it was a
table.
pain in the ass and it took up a ton of space.
We had a welding table in the back, and thank God that gate was still there.
The 1-inch steel top slid off the base
And
when we hit
just
the brakes and hit the back of that cage. And he's like, yep, we'd have been in half.
That cage was dented in, like, yeah.
Security
so Final
cages exist.
Destination, 100%.
So I'm taking that-
Screenwriter, like listen to that. Like, it's great.
Yeah, it's a great one.
You know,
we can take out two of them at
yeah,
one time.
exactly.
We've had a number of people like, you guys should run your own YouTube channel. And it's like, the problem is we are so inappropriate. 98%
Yeah.
of the time, we'd have to change our entire demeanor.
When you're trying to commit suicide at the same time.
Yeah, literally. We put ourselves in peril constantly,
Yes.
you know?
You know, I don't like that you say that because it reminds me that I don't have a Keyman insurance policy on him. And thank you for.
You're welcome.
I got calls to make.
Whatever we can do.
Yes.
It costs me more money.
Fabricator Podcast. We make everyone's business better.
I was gonna ask, how did you guys reach out to Precision Tube Laser? How did you?
It was
learn
a
about them?
mixture of I had followed them for a number of years, or not a number of years, for a little bit of time prior to him and us coming onto the podcast.
On
Actually,
Instagram?
and yeah, on Instagram, and I saw him come on your guys' podcast, and I watched the podcast, and I looked at Anthony. I'm like, is this something we can utilize?
So give the guy a
You
call.
know?
What's the worst? He gives you some
Exactly.
crazy answers like, yeah, thanks, no thanks.
Because I think I think the
there's no harm.
general thought was minimums. You know, like it's going to be insane for them to just take my one-off file and be like, yeah, here, you know, like sure, at a decent cost. So I was like, all right, I'll reach out. I had a file to send to them, and I was like, let me know what you guys think. And they told me immediately what I did wrong, you know. And I was like, okay, cool. Let me fix that. I'll send it back. And they're great to work with too. Like they're very upfront. But we reached out and they got back to me and they gave us a price. And I looked at him and I go, how much do we pay just to get the metal here? You know, because we have overages in metal because we're
They can
over
use their
ordering.
buying. That makes
Yeah,
sense.
you know. So we were like, okay, what's it cost? And we looked at our costs and their costs, and I'm like, that's all they want to cut it? I'm like, are we dumb? And because he's the numbers guy, so I'm always the one that's like, I'm missing something.
Obviously, they have purchasing power in raw
Right.
materials.
Yeah.
Right.
Our cost is a small one-off manufacturer. I mean, we have fair deals in place for our size, but they get a better discount on that. So even with their markup on materials,
Yeah.
we're in line.
Wow.
So like, okay, we're paying you for machine time and your labor time. Well, if their rates are fair, and the biggest thing when it comes to us, so they're charging their labor rate, but it takes them 2 hours to run the machine.
Right.
It's going to take us 2 weeks to do the same amount of cutting.
Right.
So
Right.
even to our customers, it ends up being cheaper to the customer
Yeah.
because
And they're a fully stocked shop in terms
Yeah.
of tube
Well, and you
cutters
get to take advantage of their like crazy scheduling algorithm too. Like they just fit stuff in wherever they can, and like
Exactly.
then your stuff's done.
Exactly.
And you're like, wait, how did you guys fit that in?
And their technology, their machinery, like I was saying, like just some of these things, like the accuracy of the bends, the complexity of the bends,
Yeah.
and everything. Like I can send it to them and be like, you guys can do this? Because I used to have to design. I would say I would design to our equipment. You know,
Yeah.
you design to make it easier on yourself, et cetera, et cetera. I could design to make it easy on myself, and we're still spending 2 weeks in cutting, you know? So when you send it off and you can focus those other 2 weeks on bringing in more clients or finishing other projects.
It's a whole comparative advantage thing.
Exactly.
Well, I mean,
So
it-
they're sending back components that you then assemble. Are
Yeah.
you powder coating over there, or are you powder?
I don't think they do over there, but we handle it all.
After it's finally assembled.
Yeah, because basically all of our stuff, I'll send them the miter cuts for the tubes, all the bends, the sheets, the flat cuts, all that. So basically it comes in and all we're assembling is we're welding and grinding tubes, structures, all that stuff. But one of our biggest things is over 45-degree angles. You know, a classic mitered edge. The biggest that we could cut was a 60. You know, so anything over that, and if anybody looks at our stuff, you can see it's highly angular, very sharp edges. So anything that would be over that angle, we would have to cap it. So it would be a butt joint with a big weld, and then a cap that would have to be fully welded and then blended to make it look like it's
I
one.
spent hours with a grinder.
Exactly. Yeah. And then you still have porosity in your grinds and everything that you have to figure out
Now
and
you
make
got to
sure.
go back and fill those.
Correct. So you have constant working, whereas precision, you send it to the tube laser, they can cut crazy angles. So everything's a miter joint. So you're saving massive amounts on time on those alone. And then just your random cut time for complex multi-angle cuts, like send it to them and they're like, yeah, no problem. And for me, that takes half a day to figure it out. You know?
So I've had this conversation with people on staff, like the number of shops getting into tube cutting is just unbelievable nowadays. And the question is like,
It's rising rapidly.
like
right
what are
now.
they doing? Like, where's all this work coming from? And it kind of made sense like during the pandemic because you read about like Peloton and all these like equipment or exercise equipment manufacturers. That makes sense. And maybe some, people are investing in their homes, new railings for maybe outdoors. Okay, that makes sense. But I mean, these things are not cheap. You know what I mean?
No,
But a lot of people are like repurposing designs. They're taking it out of the channel realm and putting it into tubes, like fabricated tubes.
Well, I guess, that's kind of the thinking that I'm getting at is just like how maybe tube has just been ignored as a structural piece for fabrications for
I think
a
the
long time.
fabrication landscape is changing
with machinery.
rapidly with technology.
Yeah.
And it grows more. I mean, you see it weekly. Like these changes used to be decade-long things. Now it's 2 months, 3 months. There's a new technology out. Right. I mean, he's always screwing around with the new 3D printer. We just picked up a new one. Thing's ridiculous.
Yeah, it just advances so quickly. I mean, and like you said with the tube, they kind of came out of nowhere, and it was kind of one of those things for us even because even local, there's a lot of flat laser cutting and that stuff around here. We always felt like we were the outlier doing tube, and we were like, okay, you cut it with a bandsaw, right? That's what everybody does. And there was no other way. And then once it came into
that meant on the bandsaw, it's a whole nother recut to flip the tube to get the opposite angle. You got to cut it again. Right. Well, fast lasers flip tubes.
Pretty fast.
Yeah,
and now they have what, 1 inch of waste or whatever the opposite angle would be, so a couple inches at most. Yeah. Whereas we'd be spending untold hours.
And it's all pre-programmed.
Exactly.
Yeah, it seems like it kind of took the world of 10 years to kind of catch up with what was available. And
you mean computers are smarter than people?
Maybe.
Well, like you said, the file's already there, like I would have to dumb down my 3D files and draw them pen and paper and be like, okay, 45-degree angle, this is my distance here. And I could print it out on a sheet, but I'm dumbing it down to a 2D thing. Right. Whereas I'm sending them my 3D file and being like, this is what I need it to finish. And they're like, cool, this cut, this cut, this cut, this cut.
Thanks. You'll have it on Thursday.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. I mean, laser measurements, everything. Like he's pulling a tape still. You're not pulling tapes. You're loading it up and letting.
Well, the other thing is we utilize the Siegman tables and all that. So we have the fixture tables. I can get close. I'm by eye. When it comes to multiple joints and things adding up, you end up a millimeter out. It's not insane. With laser, I know I'm setting my jig at 400 millimeters, 725 millimeters, and it's going to hit that. Like, there's no question. Right. It's very simple.
And yes, we are an American company, and yes, we are local to the Chicagoland area. He uses the metric system because his brain gets too confused by numbers.
I showed up early to this podcast today because my brain didn't
using metric hours or what?
No, my brain just doesn't work.
He saw too many of the...
He arrived 2 decaminutes.
Yeah.
He saw too many of the same number. No joke. We actually reviewed this when we went to go kill some time. I'm like, how were you so
off? It's October 10th, and I needed 10 minutes, and I saw a lot of 10s.
So he just went with 10 a.m.
10.
It's going to show up like 10 p.m.
That's right. Well, that's why I told my girlfriend. I go, well, at least I showed up early, not late, right? Better be early. So.
But it's better to kill time than get the phone call like, where are you?
Yeah. Like, weren't you supposed to be here?
Yes.
Because we're like a surgery center. If you're not on time, bad things.
Yeah, I
Do I
know. You
still
guys,
have to pay the
charge you
deductible?
Yes. This is how we prosper. Our guests actually pay us.
yeah, it's big money.
So there you
They,
go.
pay us, they don't all pay us in tables.
Fantastic reach. So you mentioned a 3D printer. What are you using that for?
We're always trying to prototype different things, figuring out ways to integrate just different technologies into what we offer. I'm always trying to find something different that people aren't doing.
At the moment, it's running standoffs for a custom sign that needed to be at a certain angle on an exterior building. So you get the right plastic component.
Right.
And I mean, the new 3D printer, it even does like a carbon fiber nylon
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So
mixture
you can get
material.
some crazy stuff.
That's got to be
but-
pretty big. It's not a small piece.
No, it's a
right?
little guy. That's the crazy part. They jokingly call it. I call it the iPhone of 3D printing because like the ecosystem, they lock you in.
Gotcha.
You just hit go and it goes. Because I tinkered with the ones that you make on your own and build the enders, and it's fun. But this thing is literally you design a product, you hit it, you select the filament you want, and it goes. And I'm like, oh, okay, that's nice.
Computers are smarter than humans. You
Yeah.
put that headline in my
Really?
like,
You keep reiterating that, and
Yeah,
before we
'cause-
even started talking, we were talking about like AI taking over.
because it
I love AI
to
too.
be realistic, it scares me as a human being.
you're not the only one. Yes.
But you have to look at it realistically.
If you don't
'cause
keep
it-
up, you're
it-
gonna get left behind. So
It exists, right? It's not just suddenly
I
gonna
think at
like
a certain
go
age
away.
you're allowed just to check out and just bitch about everything.
Oh, no,
100%,
that is-
yeah. No, he's up there. He's getting up there. So
All
that's
right,
him.
There's
I'm
a
there
whole
too.
cottage industry for
I'm
that.
not sure what that age is yet, but
That's
I
what
think I
this
may.
podcast is for.
Oh, we could sit here and just complain for
Does that
hours.
mean-
The
Like,
next evolution when we rebrand, it'll be the Angry Man Yells at Clouds podcast.
hey, you know what kind of viewership that would get? I think that's marketable.
Yeah. You should just watch videos and comment on them.
There you go. There's an
There you
offshoot
go.
for
Like
the
MST3K of the fabrication world.
Yeah, just
There
sit
it
there
is.
and be like, why is that idiot doing that? And then they'll be like, oh no,
Think
you're
about
the
it.
idiot. And the
Don't you-
comments just blow up,
Oh yeah,
Fabricator
you don't know what you're
reactions.
talking
There you
about.
go.
Started on what's the best
Spotify
platform
next
for
week.
that? I was about to say
We could monetize this, couldn't
Have
we?
you done them?
Well, we did one with a robot dog that YouTube banned us from.
yes.
See, this is
promoting
what I
that.
was
You
saying.
don't-
When people
don't-
ask us to do a show, I'm like, nah, you don't know what you're getting
The
into.
last time we were
careful.
here, it
Yeah,
was
be careful.
Cocaine Bear, I think,
Yeah.
was the talk.
Cocaine Bear, okay. Talking about robotics used to commit harm against others, probably not the
okay,
best
yes.
thing for you.
Violence.
Do not
YouTube
commit harm
algorithms.
against others.
Yes.
yeah, the
Do not-
violence, that's an automatic no.
Now we end actually each show with a number of the one of the great 10 Commandments. Great 10 Commandments? Whatever.
Ten
I don't know.
Commandments.
Better than the Ten Commandments.
Yeah.
The heathen can't quote his
V2.
Bible very accurately. Oh,
The AI machine's gonna be so confused with this transcript.
look, 5 years from now it'll be able to catch up. Right now we have it where we want it.
There you go.
Confused.
Keep it confused. It's okay.
Just make sure we confuse it enough where we look so dumb that it can't figure out which way to
That's
go.
the only thing I'm
Dan
holding
can
out.
take care of that.
I was about to say that's the only thing I'm holding out for is that maybe they find me amusing and keep me like a pet.
They're like, look at that guy.
Other than that, I don't think I'm cute enough, so that could be an issue.
Human pets.
Oh,
Okay.
that's kind of
Seriously,
screwed
man.
up. Yeah.
Yeah.
when there's human keychains like the Noma, what were those little things or like the pet?
Tamagotchis.
Oh, yes.
I knew it was gonna hit me at some point.
Yeah. Krista Yamaguchi's.
Yeah.
98% of this podcast is getting
go.
edited out.
Now we're talking Olympic ice skating. Come on.
There you go.
She's like a surgeon now.
Yeah.
Probably
That's not surprising.
She'll probably end up keeping me as a pet.
There you go. Yeah, probably.
When you look at them, they're prodigies at like 14 when they're in the Olympics, right? Like they have their entire life ahead
The
of them
work
to do whatever
ethic
they
is
want.
there, I will say. You know.
Yeah, we're definitely off the rails.
Way off. It's up to you
2
to
years,
get
Little
us
League
back on.
Baseball. I've had enough. Too much work.
It's up to you to get us back on here, buddy.
3D printers. What made you want to purchase one?
Yeah.
Upgrade.
Oh, yeah.
Why
sorry.
the upgrade?
Yeah. So we upgraded. The Ender. We use it more around our shop than anything, honestly. Since everything is different, nothing's standard. Everything's changing. Every desk that we do, you need a different size hole, different engraving, a different adapter, all this stuff. And we found that you could use a 3D printer to make templates, tools, general holders, spacers.
Fixtures.
Exactly. Anything that's specialty that you just need one time even. It's great for one time, even multiple use for a lot of them, but just the speed of them is why we upgraded. My ender, you know, it was great, but it would take 4 hours, 5 hours for something that I would call minuscule of a print.
Right.
Whereas this thing's, our new Bamboo Lab is what it is, and it's hammering them out in under an hour. Top quality, zero having to watch it.
So like a hood type thing or a
no,
drawer?
it's all
door?
enclosed. Yeah, just one door, and we have a 4-color filament separator up top that it'll pull them in and out depending, so you can do multiple colors and all that if people, because some people, you know, in the tchotchke type industry,
right.
where, you know, apparently we're all missing the mark because there's big money to be made in cookie cutters and things like that, I guess. But it's been,
that's my face exactly. Like, really?
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
You have no idea how
Apparently you're not on Etsy enough because those people just
I just
roll
paid
in it,
$13
apparently.
for a new foot pad for my 25-year-old Weber.
See?
So, yeah.
See, he's
3D
right
printed.
Exactly.
So
but that's the
they're
thing.
Well,
next
the
time, just
products
give him
they
a
don't
call
make.
and
Yeah,
we'll-
you
Yeah.
know, right?
Give me a call.
He'll outsource it to Vegas.
Yeah.
No
Well, see,
joke.
exactly.
Going back to his Bolt, his little DC fast charger flap, you know, the little orange thing on all the cars, it was broken. And he's like, well, I could order it, or I can print the new one with a custom logo in it.
Yeah. You know, the fun tchotchke stuff, but industry-wise, either they're using it to make final products, or I think people like us, makers and things like that, are really utilizing them around their shop, especially small makers.
Yeah.
That's a big thing that I see a lot of them doing it with, is making stuff with tools.
We just did a story about a shop in Arkansas that started fabricating or printing its own fixtures.
Yeah.
Made a whole business out of it.
Exactly.
Just because it's so useful for so many different applications in the fabrication space.
Exactly.
Yeah,
really
if
is.
you can find that niche where, like, there's a couple, like, weird things we've made for the shop, and we're like, well, if
How
we
many
actually
people want
market
this?
this, like, this is actually potentially a viable product.
Well, yeah.
But like, you come across some necessity's the mother of invention, right?
Right.
So, like, we're like, well, I just need this stupid thing. And with this goofy little machine in the shop that's going to take a couple hours of him programming something and running it, suddenly you have it.
You
And
have
it's
a
like,
product. You have a tangible product.
Literally, yeah.
Okay,
It's not even like I know a lot of people use it for rapid prototyping, but now it's rapid product at the end of the day. You know, like, yeah, you can use cheap plastics and whatever and prototype, make sure things fit. I mean, that's another thing that
Turn it into molds.
McMaster Car has their entire catalog for Fusion 360. So if they have something that I want to test fit a screw, or I'm not sure of the size of this washer or something, a lot of their stuff have 3D step files, so you can print out on the 3D printer whatever you're gonna purchase from McMaster, you know, and just put it in there and be like, okay, cool, that fits. Instead of ordering it and being like, well, I don't know if this is gonna fit.
Right.
You know?
especially when it comes to, like, some expensive assemblies and joints and specialty things where it's like, well, do I want to order the $400 piece right now to see if it'll fit in here?
Yeah. Right. Even
And,
if
like,
it's-
nobody wants to be the guy like, well, it doesn't work, just return it.
Right.
Nobody wants to be that person.
no.
Yeah.
And plus, you don't have to wait for it.
Exactly.
Yeah. Somewhat affordable.
It is. If you compare it to a lot of things, it's
Yeah.
beyond. I mean, if you get into carbon
like a
fiber
desktop,
filaments,
though, right? I mean,
yeah, I
yeah.
mean, I think they run all crazy. I mean, you
Yeah.
can get into the crazy additive
Right, like
manufacturing and all
production
that.
type
Yeah,
pieces of
this one
machinery.
they aim for like mid-range prosumer, I want to call it. You know,
Yeah.
because you can run a business and run a print farm with them, and you could do it all. But it is dumbed down to where
Right.
you go, I click this and it starts.
I
you
mean,
know?
we've actually seen several people changing out their print farms to these machines.
No kidding.
just because of simplicity. Yeah.
Simplicity, efficiency, and it's like anything has conflict in it, right? Like, oh, I hate that because of this, and I don't like that. And I don't. At the end of the day, if you plug it in and it works,
Yeah.
can you really argue with it?
Well,
Like, I
Tesla
mean,
wasn't going to make it, right? They were going to be just another car company that was going to get
They
bogged
weren't
down.
even a car company. Literally, the big three was like it's engineers playing with electric motors and Legos.
Yeah.
Well, man, that kind of hurts now, doesn't it?
Can we borrow your charging
Yeah, exactly. I loved it when that happened. Honestly, that was my favorite thing to see, was them bend knee to Tesla. Like, okay, here you go, because
Makes sense.
they had to. Tesla had such a head start, in my opinion.
Hey,
but,
if I
yeah.
owned every gas station 100, what would we be? 85 years ago now? Sounds like a pretty good business plan.
yeah,
Like,
So
You wouldn't be doing custom coffee tables.
no, absolutely not.
So I mean,
I'm a big fan of retirement, trying to figure out how to fast line, that would be
Let
great.
me know when you get there. I'll
You know, the
appreciate it.
lotto's like
It's
1.7 billion
yes.
or something. That I'll take a cut.
The redneck retirement system. Yes.
Right.
Not very
Yeah.
reliable.
No, not very reliable. But if you
But
hit,
it's there, but
if
it's
you
there.
if you hit, you're good.
You know, throw your $4 away, and hey, it's a pipe dream. You're playing it seriously. Like you should find another plan. But
Why would you need to play it seriously when online sports gambling's available?
Oh yeah, or just go to the local slot machine
Exactly.
place.
There's
Why
so
not?
many options
Throw
for
your
us.
money down that hole.
Thanks for the table.
Absolutely. Thank you
very
for contacting
sturdy.
us.
Fantastic to have you guys going again. That's good.
Absolutely.
Thanks for the personal delivery.
Of course. Always. Every delivery is personal delivery.
That's not true.
No, it's not true.
It could be.
2 guys in a bolt.
Yeah, see?
You should put that.
That's a company
Yeah,
name right there.
That's something
you
to
know,
print
you're
on your
saying
next
that
thing.
like
Yeah.
our
That's what-
bigger jobs, they 90% of the time on large conference tables or like multi-piece jobs, we're there.
You should do the markup for that. I mean, you're kind of celebrities now.
Only because of you guys. That's
Well,
why.
you know what?
So when your celebrity
again,
influences our
Kingmakers here at the
celebrity,
Fabricator Podcast. we would look. Precision 2 would have closed by now if they had
Literally.
started ordering
And
all
by
those
the
parts
way,
from 'em.
Jordan, if you're listening, we expect our Swiss Colony box of cheese and sausage in the mail.
Oh,
We do have a
that's
hat
a big
available.
ass. There you go.
There's a hat. Yeah.
Yeah, you got the
Precision
hat
2
back there.
bat.
There's actually an extra hat in the break room if you guys
I
want a
did see
hat.
that.
Okay.
I will say this.
Hey.
I will say this.
I like merch. I like merch.
When I would get
It has
when
marinara
I
on
would
it.
get emails from Precision 2 Blazer, they'd always do like PTL as the acronym.
Yeah.
And I'm old enough to remember Praise the Lord
Yes.
television network.
Yeah, it's like 700 Club. Like,
Every time I
Wait a
see
minute,
PTL,
what
I'm
is
like, whoa!
why do I
How'd
feel
they
like
get
this
my
is
email?
a very bad road to go down with you?
who's
Like,
asking for money now?
Look, man, when you're a kid, like I'm a Gen X kid, latchkey. I was at home watching anything on TV.
yeah, but
and-
like that's when you were watching. That's when you were watching the same bad movie, and you like knew the whole front end of it. So you'd watch the last 30 minutes because there was nothing else on.
There's only 3 channels then. Of course, down in Louisiana, there's only one.
I was about to say, you can only watch Hollywood Nights so many times. Yeah, I was about to say, get out of here before this gets banned by YouTube.
We can make that happen.
There you go. Well, it does seem to be the worst with YouTube. So.
Yeah, you know, we bring out the best.
Rob, Anthony,
right.
thank you for coming in.
Yeah,
I
thank
really
you.
Thank
appreciate
you
for
it.
having
Lincoln
us.
for jumping in. If you have a question, comment, or complaint, go to podcast@fmamfg.org.
Don't you have to go like, share, subscribe? Isn't that the thing?
Yeah, like, share, subscribe, recommend. It's the same thing as like. Comment.
Complain.
Complain.
That
Go to a
would be
place
the
where you
big
get your
one.
podcast. We appreciate it. Good night and farewell.
The Fabricator Podcast is a production of Fabricators and Manufacturers Association, located in Elgin, Illinois. The show is hosted by Dan Davis and the staff of FMA Communications. The podcast is produced by Gareth Slager and recorded and edited with the help of Brandon Geyer. Sales support provided by Andy Flando. Additional production support by Elizabeth Gavin, Dana Weicker, Mary Diamond, Mike Owens, and me, Sarah Spring. Thank you for listening.